What is going on, guys? This is Miasin, and this is going to be OCG metagame breakdown number 0. So the first one, post ban list. Again, the same ban list that semi-limited SP Little Knight. Yes, I know. Anyways, before we proceed, I would really appreciate you guys if you could smash the like and subscribe button. And huge shoutouts to my sponsors Inspire TCG as well as Dueling Guard. Dueling Guard is back with the Tokyo Duel collection. It looks absolutely insane. So they got mats, binders, art cards. Check them out and use the coupon code YASIN666 for 5% off. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so the best deck is still Fire King, obviously, even though it changes every now and then. Not really, actually, it's always Fire King in the OCG, whereas in the TCG, it's just not really the case. Voiceless Voice, second best deck, okay? And then we got Rescue Ace, out of nowhere, third best deck, because Pure Snake Eye was like much better before. But Pure Snake Eye got more of a hit than Fire King because they really wanted to play like all those Snake Eye cards. They have the same amount of like consistency cards as Fire King, but the Fire King deck at least has Fire King cards, so it's easier to just have more cards that aren't just like more hand traps, because eventually they will do nothing in your deck. But yeah, Fire King I think is just the superior version, at least in the OCG and the TCG. I don't know, it's kind of like 50-50. But yeah, after that we got Tenpai Dragon. Again, pretty big disappointment. The deck was doing much better. But there is a deck that has a very good Tenpai Dragon matchup, and it is this deck right here, Yubel. Phantom of Yubel just came out in the OCG, and it's already doing relatively well, but it's not like super insane. I'm gonna go a little more into detail later on, but it is even playable as a splashable engine, where you can play 3 of the continuous spell as well as 1, no, sorry. Yeah, 3 continuous spell, 1 Spirit of Yubel, and 1 Yubel. So basically, you're basically summoning a fusion monster that can negate Nibiru. That's all you really need to know. Anyways, Labyrinth, okay. Matadome, Purely, Runic, Lawnmowing Branded, Infernoid, Supreme King, Magician, Melodious Centurion, Chimera, Danger, Dark World. Not a lot of deck sets, only 90. Flunderies, whatever, I don't care. Yes, well, meta beat. What does that even mean? Like, is it Fossil Dino? They could just call this stun, honestly, at this point. Red Dragon Archfiend. I don't know if this is like Resonator. I think that's just a more accurate name for the deck. Not really Red Dragon Archfiend. It's just cards in the extra deck, but not really in the main deck. Sky Striker, Sprite, Shabrigade, Adam Emancipator, Shabrigade Lyrilusk. It's crazy how even with all the broken ban cards like Block Dragon, Lawn Mowing, etc., those decks just aren't doing that well. And again, no Ritual Beast, no Ice Barrier, and barely any Infernoid in this report. So that is also very concerning for Terminal World sets. Sorry, I mean decks. But anyways, Fire King. So as you can see, it didn't really change too much since the last time. This deck list though is playing 42 with 1 Dramatic Chase and 1 Silvera. Again, I'm not a really big fan of this package because original is all you really need with your the Diabellstar as well as Populist Search. You don't really need anything else, and also no Snake Eye Oak is just really ugly to look at. The Skyburn is just not really needed. Thank you for finally playing 2 Kirin. Literally Konami forcing players to just play better. I also feel really bad for everyone who lost 1 SP Lone Knight. It really hurts so much, you know. Going from 3 to 2, right? When people were only playing 1 in the first place. Literally the most pathetic hit I've ever seen in my entire life. It's ridiculous. Even the Extravagance decks were only playing 2 SPs maximum. Sometimes even not even that. So it affected absolutely nobody. And then we're seeing the Lyrilusk rank 1 Xyz monster in the side deck. Again, this is for Tenpai Dragon. Basically, when they have to go first, I mean Fire King. They just summon this, and then they use the effect on their opponent's deck, draw phase, or standby. Even if they get Kaiju'd, they will survive. The only outs to this would be Forbidden Droplet, as well as Infinite Impermanence. And Tenpai Dragon are playing 3 of all of them. So if you want to play it safe through Imperm and the Droplet, you summon Kiki Nagashi Fucho instead, because that is unaffected by card effects. It is susceptible to getting hit by a Kaiju. The Lyrilusk, on the other hand, it doesn't matter if you get Kaiju'd, because you still don't take damage. So you sponge the OTK with 2 level 1 monsters, which again, it translates to 1 Snake Eye Ash. It's pretty easy to pull off. So yeah, this is relatively, and it's a good strategy. I think it's good enough because it has playable matchup against every single deck, you know. Against Voiceless Voice, I think it's actually ideal to play this deck and not pure Snake Eyes. This deck can also naturally win through a lot of decks without even a hand trap sometimes. I can play through like 4 or 5 interruptions if your hand is good, whereas pure Snake Eye, you just have less options with original Synfo Snake Eye. So yeah, it's a little less good. Synchro Summoning is less relevant going second, but it's still very nice going first. Especially if your opponent has board breakers that you want to negate, because Fire King does not end on any Omni negates. Voiceless Voice didn't really change too much. Like, actually, there's no difference literally between this and the last time. Because again, even Extravagance, which you could have played a 3, it's just not really a 3 of. Yeah, you're not trying to play 4 pots, because then you brick literally all the time on way too many pots. And the thing about Voiceless Voice is that this is not the kind of deck that you're supposed to look at as a back and forth grind control deck. No, it's really, you have to see this as a deck that has to win immediately and make an unbreakable board on turn 1. Otherwise, you will lose. If your board isn't good enough, it doesn't matter how good your grind game is. Every time, again, people have asked me this question multiple times, is the new continuous spell going to change anything? And the answer is, it's not going to change much because it doesn't address the main issue of this deck, which is getting started. It's kind of like Labyrinth and Paleozoic. The issue was never the grind game to begin with, because once those decks make it to like turn 5, they cannot lose. But this deck, it can lose like on turn 2, you know? You go first, and then your board gets picked apart by Triple Tactic Talents, Forbidden Droplet, and then you get OTK'd and you die. So the issue is, can you make enough interruptions? Are the cards in your hand actually live? Because sometimes you can lose to one hand shop, or sometimes you just have way too many engine cards that just aren't good enough. Like you draw double pre-prep, double pots, and then, you know, a card that does nothing. Or like multiple cards that do nothing, like the Ritual Monsters, Trias with no Diviner. It can hurt, honestly. But it is still nonetheless a very good deck. I mean, it's the best non-fire deck in my opinion. So if those decks get hit, you already know that Voiceless Voice is going to be absolutely cracked. I don't know how good the Tenpai Dragon matchup is. I think it's fine. You can still play a lot of hand shops, and you should, I mean, yeah, they do play Magnamwood and stuff, but Magnamwood doesn't really shut down this deck. It's just that they still search a monster on the end phase, and then you have to deal with more things. It can be a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's really not the end of the world. And then, yeah, the Deltas, as well as the Gammon Driver in the side deck. Delta can negate the Heat Wave, so you always side in these cards going second against, honestly, just everyone. You do not want to deal with Floodgates either, like Kaiser Coliseum. That's a thing. And even though you only need 2 monsters to, like, really play, if you only have 1 monster, it's not gonna do much of anything. So, yeah, you will lose to, like, again, 1 card. Rescue Ace, on the other hand, I don't really care too much about this deck. It's almost, I want to say, the exact same as what we have in the TCG, except that we still have 3 Wanted, and we only have 1 Airlifter. The rest is just about the same. Again, not very interesting. It doesn't even play that many hand traps, only quote-unquote 7, with 3 Droplet, double Combat the Grave, cross out, and then more consistency cards. But that's the issue with Rescue Ace, right? Like, you're trying to win with your engine because you can't afford the luxury of playing too many non-engine cards. Otherwise, you really start breaking super, super hard. Like, you inherently have to play all the bricks of, you know, the few continuous spells, the field spell, the trap cards. That's like 6, I mean, actually, no, Emergency is definitely not a brick. But I meant like the other ones. That's 5 bricks that I'm looking at, or 5 cards that aren't ideal to draw. Not necessarily bricks, right? You can draw them and you're fine. Granted, the rest of your hand is fine, and sometimes you can draw like Hydrant and one of these cards, and you're very good because you get the bonus effect too. So obviously, if you see those cards, then you're good. But again, so many cards that I can look at and be like, okay, a bad combination of these cards in your hand could be like very deadly. But whatever, it still works out. And then Pure Snake Eyes, there is not even that much to cover that I haven't already talked about, but one really nice thing is the fact that it all started in Master Duel, where people were playing Kashtira cards in their Pure Snake Eye deck. So they were playing, I believe it's only 1 or 2 Unicorn, the field spell as a 1-of, and then the 1-of Birth because it's limited anyways. And then I don't even know if Fenrir is limited or banned in Master Duel, but either way, if you can't play it, then you play it. But I believe Fenrir might be banned in the OCG, but if not, it's at 1 and it's unplayable anyways. But yeah, no, this is a nice engine, so you just go Kashtira Unicorn, Surge the Birth, and then if you get Veilered on the Snake Eye Ash, then you go, okay, then link off into IP Masquerade, and then Birth, revive back the Unicorn. At this point, you go for a Princess, revive back the Snake Eye Ash, and then it's unnegated, and then Snake Eye Ash can send the Birth, and then you summon the Flambridge, and then you can link off into, like, whatever, Ambler Whale or Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, and then Flambridge Trigger to revive back 2 monsters, and then you kind of just play from there. Or actually, instead of going straight into Flambridge, because then you're not going to have the other level 1, you could go into like Snake Eye Oak and then Flambridge or Populous into Original, and then that can summon, that can search like just about anything. And also Birth, I feel stupid for just like being aware of this, but Birth can allow you to apparently normal summon any level 7 monster without tributing. So you can normal summon Diabellstar, like literally for free. So it's not going to come up too often, but you can actually do that, apparently. So yeah, that's kind of cute. And if you can keep this card on your opponent's turn, as well as the Unicorn, you just win in the mirror match, because Unicorn can rip a 1-up from the opponent's extra deck. Every single Pure Snake Eye deck list, I don't know if you've realized, they're all playing 1 Princess, and then 1 SP for the most part. Fire King, on the other hand, not really. I think they're a little better prepared because they're usually on double Princess, so you're gonna have to remove like the SP or the Zealantis if you don't want them to OTK. But imagine removing a Princess against a Fire deck. I mean, it can come up against a few decks as well, even against Rescue Ace. It can be relevant, even though I think Rescue Ace is good enough even without their extra deck. Their extra deck is just an added bonus. If anything, Lin Kribo is the best card in the Rescue Ace extra deck, I think, and SP. But yeah, again, in the Snake Eye Mirror, the Princess, you remove it, you kind of just win the game. And then the Birth can banish 3 cards exactly from your opponent's graveyard on the resolution of him activating either a spell card or a spell card effect. So yeah, like Divine Temple effect or original, whatever, banish 3 cards. It's just insane. It's really just unfair. It does so much using like pretty much only 1 card. So yeah, if you've got that, like literally Field Spell or Unicorn, then you're gonna go far. Again, with only 1 card, and then you're obviously like usual starter. And you still have a bunch of ways to get to Snake Eye Ash, even though that's like 3 less copies in your deck. I would be playing a 40 card deck list with, again, 1-for-1. This is a 42 with no 1-for-1, so it looks just super inconsistent. It doesn't look clean at all. There's just so many cards that I don't really see their purpose in this deck. Like the second Magician Souls, there's no reason to play it, and there's also no Dark the Dark Charmer, so it's not even like you can say, oh, you can search it when they go Princess Destroy Your Dark or you Crash Your Dark. This is one of the most random cards in this deck. I understand that it can send Diabellstar and I believe Snake Eye Diabellstar as well. This is a spellcaster monster, and then you can revive it back and stuff. It's not bad. It's obviously good, but 2 of it, I don't know about that. Yeah, you don't need the second Flambridge. At least there's that. No Jet Synchron either. That's just not really worth it. So people keep saying, oh, Jet Synchron might get banned in the TCG. That would change nothing. Literally, the deck would be just as good, if not even better, because they should be hitting other things, and instead of that, they're hitting the cards that are relevant. And then this deck is going to be getting a crazy wave of support in Legacy of Destruction. So if the ban list does not impact this deck whatsoever, this might be looking like a tier -1 deck or something. Well, maybe not, because there's going to be other rivals and stuff. And honestly, Snake Eye Diabellstar is not that huge. But yeah, anything to like make it so that people start dropping Jet Synchron. And also, they're doing my tech, right? The one that I showed in my video that I uploaded 2 days ago. Go check it out. I showcase combos where if you are only playing 1 Flambridge and no Jet Synchron, so 2 less bricks in your deck, you can still beat Nibiru, and obviously you end on pretty much the same amount of eruptions as if you played with Jet Synchron. So you can end on like Midnight Early and the Princess Engraved, so that's honestly a really nice combo. I'm a big fan of that. And then yeah, in the side deck we can see Retaliating Sea as well. Very good in the mirror match. My only issue is, once you Retaliating Sea your opponent, what do you do with it? Like, you have to link it off. It just looks really weird. I don't know if I'm a really big fan of this in this deck, but it's really good in other decks for sure. Okay, now we've got Tenpai Dragon, so I think this deck is getting like super streamlined in a way. Like, it's always the exact same 16, I believe, engine cards. So 3, 3, 2, and then 3, 3, 1, 1. That's all you can do. So that's 8, 11, 14, 16, right? I know the number by heart because regardless of the deck list, it's the exact same, which means that there is room for 24 non-engine. And I've already mentioned how Forbidden Droplet is a must when your opponent is playing the Lyrilustic Seas instead of Kikinagashi Fucho. Kikinagashi is a little dangerous into Kaijus or Santa Claus because people were main decking that. You might get it OTK'd now. And with the amount of hand traps that they're playing, you really want to play it safe and summon your Lyrilusk like before summon number 5 and then just pass turn there. You're not even trying to like make a big board. And you're also not trying to link summon too much because 3 Phantasm is looking a little dangerous. And it is also a dragon monster, and you can search it with Magnamut, another thing that is, I think, pretty cool. So yeah, that's 21 hand traps, or 20? 2, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 with 3 Droplet. What the heck? A lot more floodgates and stuff in the side deck. Again, the semi-limited Kaiser Coliseum that's just so insanely stupid. Like, this card should have been banned. Like, not semied. And then Heatwave as well. This card also should have been banned. Super bad card design. Especially in a deck that just kills you right after. It's not even like it slows the game down in a healthy way. It just makes it faster and less enjoyable. By the way, this deck, it does have a really nice tech to beat Yubel because the monsters cannot be destroyed and they reflect damage back to you. This card is Samurai Destroyer. It's a level 7 Synchro monster. Essentially, when it battles, it prevents your opponent from activating any cards or effect, I believe, until the end of the damage step, and the monster that it battles, its effects are negated. So against Yubel, it's gonna make it so that the Yubel is negated, so it dies, and then it can't trigger, and the field spell also cannot trigger, but you still take the damage from Nightmare Pain, which is the continuous spell card, because that one does not start a chain. It's a continuous effect. And Samurai Destroyer doesn't negate the effect of everything. It only negates the effect of the monster at battles, but it prevents your opponent from activating cards or effect until the end of the damage step. So it's kind of like, what's the name of the card again? It's a level 5 synchro monster, I forgot, but it's a classic. Everybody was playing it back in the days. So yeah, it's a nice card, but it is an option. You don't necessarily have to go with it. You can play Cyber's Quantum Dragon as well. It bounces back and then you can attack again. It is a good option, but you'd rather rely on like hand traps to like prevent your opponent from getting there, because Tenpai Dragon, it has a very, very low ceiling level. If your opponent can actually make the board through your hand traps, or if you just don't draw hand traps, you lose the game literally all the time. And that is the exact reason why people are also mixing in board breakers in their deck list sometimes, because they want hand traps to like prevent their opponent from getting to a point, but if they manage to like ignore those hand traps, they also want to have cards that, you know, you can potentially dig with like Prosperity. In the TCG, Prosperity is a 3 and you can still OTK under Prosperity. So in other words, you are probably more more down to play cards like Lightning Storm main deck, Duster potentially, definitely not Evenly. That one makes 0 sense in this deck. And you're also not trying to play Thrust and Talent in Tenpai Dragon, because again, the ceiling level is weak. So it's not like you're trying to bait your opponent with your engine and then use a card like Talent to draw 2 cards. There is nothing to draw into. Your cards just do nothing when they get stopped at the correct timing. So you would have to basically rely on your opponent messing up at this point, which I'm definitely not a big fan. So yeah, you just need a lot of proactive board breakers, and this deck just doesn't have enough of them, honestly, outside of like Droplet. And again, you cannot play Dark Ruler no more for slightly obvious reasons. You're trying to OTK your opponent. You're not a nice guy. You're not trying to like break a board and then end on Hieratic Seal Pass. That's garbage, because this deck is not making billions of negates in main phase 2. Literally nothing. If you're lucky, you're ending on like 3 interruptions on main phase 2 if you mess up, like if you can't pull off the OTK because your opponent survived, but that's about it, honestly. Again, remember that you are locked under dragons whenever you use the effect of, I forgot, so some of them do, but whatever. In conclusion, like I said, the Yubel package is seeing a little bit of play, but not too much. I think it's just a matter of time, though, because before people start realizing how good the Yubel deck really is, it's just, it rewards, like, creative deck building, and it has a lot of really, really good matchups. Like Flunderies, for example, that matchup is unlosable for Yubel. Literally unlosable. Flunderies cannot deal with the fact that they have to, like, attack, just always take the damage. They can't summon their monsters in defense, so it's not even like they can play around it. Like, they have to go into battle phase every single time. If their Ryza gets stopped, then they have no more ways of really dealing with things. Their only outs, literally, are not even, like, in the extra deck, because they're not gonna have access to that. And either way, you can negate it with Phantom of Yubel. Phantom of Yubel obviously would lose out to Ryza, but that's another story. If you have like Imperm, for example, or Cosmic Cyclone on top of like your board with Yubel, you know for a fact that you're about to win against that deck. It is just insane. And also, your deck doesn't lose to Shifter, and Yubel can play Shifter, it doesn't play it in like the best way possible. And if you're playing Unchained, then it might be a little worse, because then you're not going to be getting the effect of Shavara, but whatever. It should work still fine if you just go for like the minimal Yubel board. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.